Ready? All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's just a little after 6:30. We're going to dive into this thing. We have on the books for tonight an hour and a half. I think we can get it done faster than that. That's the LCEF standard for this meeting, but I think we can probably get it done a little bit faster than that. Just a couple housekeeping stuff before we jump in with a word of prayer. Those watching online, absolutely get a pen and paper. You can jot some stuff down. The downside is you can't jump in the conversation tonight, but you can always email those to me or just drop them off at church on Sunday. That is absolutely awesome. I would love to have that feedback too. You just can't participate in the group discussions we're having tonight. So with that, let's dive into a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for tonight, for this opportunity to come together as sort of the ultimate, penultimate moment of our visioning process to see the goals for the next 2 to 3 years. I pray, Lord, you'd bless our time here tonight as we gather here together to come up with the plans that you have for us planted in our hearts and minds already, just waiting for us to discover them by the power of the Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, just a couple of other things. First, Danny can't be here tonight. He's got some pretty serious heart conditions that just re-flared up, actually. He had this for a while. It's congestive heart failure. He had a really major surgery 20 years ago, a long time ago, and it just re-flared up and just not safe to travel. So Dan and I sat down with Danny on Zoom and went through this presentation. We feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to lead this as well as he could. It's just that when you have an outside voice, sometimes it just has a better ring to it when you're walking through these things. I do want to give just the props to the people on the team. If you were on the vision team, please stand up. Even if you shake your head no, please stand up. Beth, there we go. This is our vision team. If you don't know them, we're trying not to say the names on the Zoom link. It's recorded and stuff like that. You guys know who they are. Members here forever and such. Also, an update on the build team and all that. We have members of the build team here, right? I think we do. If you're on the build team, stand up. There's Keith. Okay, we only have Keith on the That's all right. That's okay. We just officially awarded the contract today to the general contracting group, Ike and Day. What I'd love to say about them is they felt so living faith. And Dan was actually there for that interview, and that's exactly what he said tonight. It's the first time we've had to connect. Like, they just fit us, it seemed like. And then also all of the technical stuff that goes with that also lined up really well. So fantastic group. You're going to love this team. And they're confident the 11 to 12 month time frame, very doable in their words. In fact, I think it can probably get done quicker than that. It will kind of depend on our weather in winter. That's just the way it is, but they're very confident. I am saying at the moment it'll be about 3 months for groundbreaking, but they gave us 2 months for groundbreaking. So I'm not sure we'll be ready on our end with everything that we got to do, but they're ready to go. Larry?
11, 12 months for what,
phase 1.5. Yeah, it's phase 1.5. So that's another interesting piece of this project is, you remember how it's phased, phase 1, and then phase 2. So phase 1 is early learning center, phase 2 is a bunch of church stuff, and then phase 3 was the big box, I've been calling it, the gymnasium. Phase 1, they are confident pushing that through and then doing sanctuary renovations can happen pretty close to all inside that first 12 months. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So with that, let's dive into our ministry solutions. We're going to talk process a little bit tonight, but the end goal will really be this: define opportunities, design solutions, align resources. So all of our vision has kind of funneled through this process that you're going to see here on the next screen, which is we have this guiding statement, this visionary guiding statement, and then from there we develop these pillars. And we talked about those in the sermon series, you remember, way back in December, and then certain targets. And then we went to map out all of our ministries. We took everything we could think of from the Tuesday, Thursday women's Bible studies and men's Bible studies on Friday, all of that kind of stuff. Everything we could think of, altar guild, like every last thing we could think of. And we made a map, and from that map, we then jumped out from there and said, okay, here's our opportunities, what we feel are the greatest opportunities for kingdom impact. And then from there, we wrote goals, and now we're at the strategy phase of this. So, next slide. I know I'm going fast, but don't worry, we'll get back to this. On the next slide, we're going to have, these were the ministry pillars. So again, that activities God is calling us to do in order to achieve his will, this is our vision statement. As a Christian church that welcomes all, we strive to live our faith in service to our community, local and global, by equipping each other to grow in faith and be generous in love in order to pursue what's most important, our hope-filled life in Christ. So once we had that well mapped out, remember we pulled this out of the congregation. We had a couple of meetings where we got people together just like tonight, pulled this vision statement out, and then the team went through that and looked for those pillars of the statement. And it seems as though from that statement, these four things emerge. We want to be a church that reaches out, a church that disciples, a church that engages God, and a church that engages people. Those kind of seem a little vague, and that's how it's intended to be, because there's lots of different ways you can reach out to people. There's lots of different ways you can engage people or engage God, but we want it to be clear that what we're trying to do is reach out to continue to grow God's kingdom, whether that means people coming to worship here on Sunday or people coming to faith in Jesus and worshiping somewhere else. Is kind of a win-win for us. We're not really all that concerned one or the other. But the idea is reaching out and then to disciple. So not to leave Christians at that first step of just coming to faith, but training up. So there's levels to this thing. There's a progression to becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ that continues to the last breath you take. Engaging God, prayer, reading your scriptures, all of these things, worship engages God, but it can also be engaging to people. So if I pray with somebody, I'm engaging God and I'm engaging that person I'm praying with. But we want to make sure that we're engaging each other in Bible study, home groups, all of those things as well. So those are the four pillars. Now, I don't have the entire mapping process because there were lots and lots of different ministries on here, but as an example, this is what it looked like. So we just listed our ministries, and then we had those four things across the top, our pillars across the top, and we just marked, does this one do outreach? Does it disciple? Does it engage God? Does it engage people? And this isn't a grading thing. This isn't like pass, fail, and we're going to delete one of these things. It's not as though if the altar guild doesn't reach out to the community to create new believers, we're no more altar guild. Like that's not what we're saying. But the goal from this, looking at all of these, is to pick a few and say, here is where we have the most opportunity to invest in the next 2 to 3 years. So again, I want to make this clear. That doesn't mean that we're not doing everything else, right? So if you don't see something on this list that's like children's church, it doesn't mean like, oh, I guess there's no more children's church on Sunday, or there's no more worship on Sunday. Like, no, we're not cutting things. We're focusing on things. And the things that we're focusing on tended to either hit a lot of yeses up there. In other words, we're going to be putting our energy and effort where our strengths are, or could easily be all yeses. There's just a no because we haven't put all of our energy and our resources there, okay? So, big question is, what are the 3 things that we landed on as far as our priorities for this coming year? Bible study, fellowship, and local missions. I can talk a little bit about those 3 really quick. Bible study, number 1, is something that we just do well here. There's the Bible studies throughout the week that are well attended, but we definitely could invest more time and energy to press that up. We could have more opportunity on Sunday morning, evenings throughout the week. We can invest technology into it, push it out on the internet. There's a lot more that we can do. We already have a bunch of very high caliber lay-led Bible studies that we will continue to invest more in as well. So Bible studies is something that we do well, and it does absolutely reach out in the community if done right. So this would be those one of our thoughts. And I don't want to taint you guys too much because we're going to try and get thoughts from you guys. Yeah, no spoiler alerts, but short-term mini Bible studies that we can project out, advertise, and market to the community that people who don't have a church home might be interested in. Okay, that's a way Bible study can be outreach. Obviously, disciples, obviously engages God, and we can make them engage each other more, okay? Fellowship, this is one where I think we naturally do a good job and have not put a lot of resource into because it just kind of happens, right? I mean, we're going to have this cleanup on April 9th, I think is April 9th? That sounds right, yeah. Spring cleanup is going to be work and fellowship. There's going to be lots of people eating donuts. Jason has like 15, 20 donuts. He's a cop, so I mean, that's how it works. So that's all you do, right? Is eat donuts all day. That's what I thought. You slap me like Chris Rock. Okay. 20-second timeout. My son was like, "What do you think about that, Dad?" And I go, a lot of people make fun of me for having less hair than I used to, and I've never slapped any of them, so I'm just saying. See, it's a problem. But fellowship opportunities, easy to invest in and to reach out. Fellowship opportunities with our neighbors in the area is an obvious one. Local missions, again, this is a great one to say, we're not cutting foreign missions. We're not going to Kenya anymore. But that is an opportunity for local missions because our foreign mission is so good. We've got people who are well-trained to do local stuff. And that's where we're going to be focusing some of our energies. Okay, so the goals that we came up with are just 5 goals, which is kind of at the top end of what we were looking for. I think we were told 4 to 6 goals, and we came up with 5. And 5 is going to be aggressive, to say the least. And we're almost to the part where to get your feedback. I want to get all the way through this, and then we're going to start the process of getting some feedback. So, goals for the next 2 years to 3 years. Develop new Bible study opportunities, specifically within mind, to equip 25 families to disciple their children in a home-centered, church-supported ministry. Engage 100 people in Bible studies through pastor and lay-led studies. Appropriately develop partnerships with 3 local missional organizations through intentional financial support, tithe dollars, and volunteer service opportunities. Increase communication to promote and highlight weekly and special events within the church, physical and digital. Create a fellowship celebration team to host and coordinate quarterly fellowship celebration opportunities. Engage 10 new volunteers through this team. All right, those are the 5 goals that we came up with. And we're going to bounce back to this slide so you have it in front of you. So if you want to write it down, write it down. You absolutely don't have to, as long as you can read that up there. So, again, just a quick recap of the process. Vision statement, get everybody together, pull together a bunch of information, filter it through prayer, and the team comes up with a vision statement. From the vision statement, we look for these pillars, these things that kind of stand out as big pieces, essentially, of the congregation, of what we are doing in this vision statement. From there, we're looking to map our ministries according to these pillars and these ideas that we have. Pick a few of them, invest our energy, and in those 3 that we picked, we have these 5 goals. Everybody clear on how we got to where we are? Sweet. So, we're going to group you up a little bit. I'm going to let Dan do the grouping up a little bit. And these slides are not, I didn't build these slides, so don't blame me, but they're a little bit wonky. And so, Sarah, you're going to have to hang on tight as I go. Go to slide number 7, if you would. The one that says, identify 2 to 3 obstacles. There you go. These are the priorities, not the goals. So this is the question, but we're going to bounce back in a second. So please write the question down on one of your pieces of paper. Identify 2 to 3 obstacles that currently exist that make realizing these goals difficult.
All right. So this is individual work right now. So we're gonna spend almost 7-ish minutes where you can individually write down obstacles to the goals that we'll put back up there. So anything you think might be a barrier or an obstacle to accomplishing those goals that exist. You're gonna do that individually, write those down. And then I think we're gonna do 4 groups of about 10-ish. So we'll probably just have 10 people that are in proximity, maybe turn your chairs to each other, and then you're gonna share those with each other. And each of the 4 groups will then share what came out of their group. So right now you're just gonna be on your own for about 7 minutes, writing down obstacles to those 5 goals that were up there. And I think we can flip over. Yeah. Is that cool?
Yeah, pop back one. There you go. Perfect.
This is a really good turnout, by the way. Danny told us if we had more than 30, that'd be outstanding. So we're only like 10 under that were here even for the initial vision event. So he'll be tickled when we tell him that we had such a good turnout. So thank you for showing up. 10, 9. All right, so let's try to do our best to gather. If you can find some proximity with chairs, it'd be nice if you can turn and move them. If we need to move some chairs out of the way, that's cool. To get about a group of 8 to 10 in your area. If we have 5 groups, that's fine. So if you just want to turn, like if you just want to do a 180 with a few people and slide them around, I know it's not ideal, or move, if we can get 4 or 5 groups, that would be awesome. And then you're going to do the same thing, sharing your ideas for about 5 minutes. So as soon as you get in your position, start sharing. And if you don't know who you're sitting by, introduce yourself. That might be a good idea. Introduce yourself. Everybody say your name and, I don't know, your name. Yeah, you don't need to write down everybody else's ideas unless you want to. We're going to share your ideas to the group verbally, but just want you to get an impact of what everybody else thought. There's going to be a whole bunch of redundancy probably, but that's good. All right, how we doing? We discussed barriers, obstacles. So how about we just start with this group right here, and you can pick whoever your spokesman is, Beth. And, oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and then, so Luke and I have made our own notes. We had our group of 2. So we're going to, when you bring up your highlights from your group, we're going to note those for the new ones that we keep picking up for our records. And so that's what we're just going to do right now. So.
We got it.
Check. It works.
So we had said, we kind of did it, we didn't do it per goal. We did what we saw as obstacles for all of the goals. One of the big ones was space and time, concerning Bible studies especially. What spaces and what times do you want to do for people that aren't available from 8 to 5? Also, for that same thing, there are a number of people already in Bible studies. If you want to add to the number of people that are in Bible studies, you need to check out what content would be interesting to those people already not invested, because they're already not invested for a reason, be it time or content. We probably need to identify leaders and train them so that they feel comfortable doing lay-led Bible studies. And then also figuring out why for all church ministries, we have the same 80-20 participation that most churches do. Why do 80% of people come on Sunday but not the rest of the week? So how do we tap into why the limited investment there? And then on communication, it was, we need to figure out a very non-confusing way to communicate, and it probably will be 2 or 3 different formats to hit everybody, like maybe one digital format and one physical format or something like that.
Ditto. I just said ditto. No, we discussed some of the very same issues. The availability of the Bible studies, the big thing we had, the younger families are usually at work. So the Bible studies tend to be dominated by older and retired people like myself. And we need to, we all felt that we would really like to have a Sunday morning Bible study again, because of families with children, they're here anyway, and this would be a nice way for them to maybe have some daycare for the kids, and they can go to a Bible study either before church or between services, whatever would work out best in the long run.
So you did the same thing I did, right?
Pardon?
I don't want to think about the obstacles. I just want to think about the solutions.
Yeah, the solutions, yeah. And
You're such a positive person.
yeah. And what were we talking about?
Obstacles.
Yeah. And then the financial resources that are necessary to fund all these activities that are coming up, make sure that it doesn't, it's a fine line between spending money foolishly and not spending anything. And we have to work on that, I think, and that goes into point 3 up there with the local mission organizations. The question was raised, how are we going to determine the 3? And my point was we already have contacts with quite a few of these on a lesser level, so that we could possibly build on that, but that's just a recommendation. The communications point of it, as an old guy that doesn't like tech, I think we need to keep a little, we set aside a little physical contact, whether by telephone or in person, for the people that are not that are elderly. We kind of feel like we're missing out when sometimes when stuff happens, we had a case where somebody in the congregation passed away, and we didn't know about it till a week, 2 later. Somebody told us in church, and we would have really wanted to go to the funeral because it was good friends. We'll be all right now while we're on the round. Yeah, It got me off my rear end, and I actually
So
figured out how to use
barrier,
Sorrel.
age.
Yeah. No, but
I'm feeling this one.
no, it's
Got a bad
but
back.
there's others. It's not just about us too. But there's other
No, I know
people
what
that
you're
are elderly that are not on the computer, and we can't leave them out. And I know this is a young world now where everybody lives on their phone, but not everybody's there yet.
Look at paper, pencil,
Yeah.
and this is.
And I
It's
think
old school.
that about covers our end of it.
All right,
A
thanks,
lot
sir.
of good points that Beth brought up that we agree with.
All right, and we would expect a lot of redundancy, but we want to at least verify that. And what did this group come up with? Kevin.
I inherited the card. So actually, we had a lot of redundancy. One of the big ones was time, and just having people commit to that time, and also the concern about always going back to the same 20% of folks. The one that was maybe a bit unique was for number one. That's a real culture shift, that just having parents feeling confident in their ability to actually take that on and commit the time. So it's a bit different than what at least our generation did when you drop your kids off and we'll see you in an hour or two and come back. So it's a bit different. Those were the unique ones.
All right, thank you. You want to pass that microphone?
Give it over to Mark.
You've been talking all day. Gibson said there's not enough food. And so I'm going to start with that.
You mean there's not enough food for Gibson?
Well, yeah, I think that's probably what it came down to. The themes that I'm hearing are very similar to what we had. Space, people, time slots available. I know one that I guess we didn't discuss that I put down on here was pastor time. There's only so many hours and so much of pastors, because when we start talking about pastor-led Bible studies, we talked about, well, there's people dropping kids off on Wednesdays. Hey, that's a great idea to have a Bible study for that 45 minutes or an hour. Except sometimes the pastors are busy during that time. So, we have to be careful about who we're looking for to fill the role of leading those Bible studies, and, kind of back to some of the points about families trying to teach their kids, that's a little intimidating. Same thing about asking people to step up there into roles of leading Bible studies. So, enabling them to feel comfortable with it, or just being able to push play on something. Sometimes that's good enough. And so that I'd say that kind of summarizes anything else that I missed? No? All right.
All right, our next process, or our next question, I should say, is identify solutions to these obstacles. So now just take those obstacles you have, individually brainstorm some solutions. We start individually, right, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah, so start individually, and then we're going to come together and group process and find the best practices. So
I'm going to give you, we'll do a 5-minute timer. Individually come up, brainstorm solutions to those barriers, and just, we're coming up with a bunch of great ideas, so start writing them down. Try not to share with each other. Try to come up with your own ideas instead of cheating off everybody else. Make sure you write them down too, because we're collecting the cards, so we want everybody's ideas on the cards too. So if you're brainstorming, put them on, write them down on the card, a different card, write solutions.
As you're thinking and talking, even together, even though you're not supposed to be, it's okay. But think and consider specifics, not just do it better. Like, give us an example. We really want to come out of here with some great ideas of this is the concrete stuff. What does it look like? Is it a this or is it that? Is it video? Is it audio? Is it like be as specific as you can in your ideas? And if we have 50 awesome ideas, that's great. We'll probably have 50 ideas and 5 really awesome ones, and it might be yours. So write it down.
0, 1, or 2 minutes? What do you want? 0? 0? We done? You ready to start sharing? All right, so now that you've all worked individually, start sharing your ideas with each other. And if you've already done that, well, start talking about why they're so good. So, and then we're going to share those as a group. And then after everybody shares their good ideas, we're going to try to even get more focused and come up with what are some best practices that we all hear from everybody's good ideas. So right now, if you wrote down on your card good ideas, everybody go around, share what you wrote down. If you didn't write down anything, write down. Well, please write, or at least write down one card so we get them all, so we get the whole group's good ideas. And then we'll bring the microphone around for you to share, and then we'll talk about that. So. Are we ready? All right, so this is the best part, I hope. And Luke and I were talking about these goals. We had to put some SMART goals, right? They had to be measurable, attainable, right? All those good things. So we're going to be visiting these about every 6 months. And if we notice these are way offline, they'll need adjustment. And there's lots of other, we could have written down probably 30 goals. But these are the ones that the strategic team came up with, and they may need tweaking. And the beautiful thing is, we'll be doing that again in a couple years to figure out, okay, where are we at? Do we continue? Do we make it different? Do we find a different thing to work on? And so the process will continue. I don't know if you cared about that. Anyway, so in case you were like hating any of those goals, they're not set in concrete, but they're in wet cement. I'll put them in. How's that for right now? So how about we share ideas? Should we do inverse order this time? So we'll start back there. You guys share the great ideas. And do you want to put that next slide up there, the best practices one? So we're doing the good ideas you have, and I think we can double time this with best practices. So as we're hearing, just say all of your ideas, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to follow up with what did everybody think were really good ones that they heard either from their group or others to kind of see what bubbles up from all that. So kind of keep that in your mind. Look for the really oh, that's a really good idea. Note that, remark on it, make sure it gets vocalized in that next session. All right, what'd you guys come up with?
Okay, well, first of all, bring back the Sunday Bolton. I know why we stopped it, but on there was events listed in the Bolton. People take them home with them, put it on refrigerators, including the prayer list on it and what have you. Another idea was the idea of really educating the congregation on why it's important for them to share their time. We get up there, and I've been here a while now, and Pastor will make an announcement and say, then see Beth, for example, for Sundays. And that's it. It's not really a presentation. And a church I went to in Florida, which was a struggling church, but it did get its volunteers, is you had someone who is in charge of that put together a formal presentation, and it can only be 10 to 15 minutes, but it's in front of the congregation and explains all the reasons. And it also, you're talking about barriers, it tells the congregation about these barriers. For example, a lot of people don't volunteer because they've never been asked. And they think it's cliquish. It's not. We know it's not. But they think it might be cliquish and we're not going to be excluded. So those are the type of things that need to go in that type of that presentation. Let's see, where else were we at? Yeah, childcare. A lot of people would probably come here for Sunday school if they knew that their children would be taken care of. They didn't have to run around chasing them. So getting back into the nursery issue, and that's self-explanatory, just the missions one. I'll let you talk on that one, okay?
For the local missions, an idea just to start with the membership on charities and missions that they are personally passionate about and involved with, so that if that local mission meets the vision of the church, that you already have a built-in kind of ministry lead and cheerleader outside of Dan and Luke to kind of start that up. And we also talked about socials. I think that would help with the volunteers. Just social gatherings, no pressure kind of thing, and just people be more willing to volunteer once they know people they're volunteering with.
Do you have any good ideas for specific things that we could do social that you'd like to do? I'm just even.
Keith had one about potlucks. You have to bring one extra person.
Pancakes and Pancakes and chili. You can't be a Lutheran church without pancakes and chili. Now, the other thing we talked about too is kind of trying to ramp up or almost stamp out the Bible study idea, whether it's here, there, or wherever, is you could almost take that sermon series idea, come up with an outline so that you don't have to have a pastor-led Bible study, but everybody's kind of on the same page or heading the same direction as the overall theme, and those themes could even be something, tied to the sermon, which could be a fellowship something, but for a layperson just to jump in there and willy-nilly open up the Bible and start it wherever, it'd be a lot easier with an outline or some talking points, especially then if you have all the Bible studies on the same page and they're all kind of the same theme of what's being discussed on Sundays.
I had one thing that we ran out of time. I didn't get to even share with my group, but for the electronic or physical communication versus online, my home church that I grew up still to this day has like what they call the prayer chain. And if you want to opt into it just receiving a voicemail, so if there's like a funeral or just anything that would be pertinent to somebody that we would be posting on Realm, it would be like a recorded message, and then that goes to your phone. If you pick it up, you get the recording. If not, you get a voicemail of the recording. So maybe that would be helpful to some people who are not on Realm or doing technology.
Who wants it? I have it back there, please. Yeah. Mr. Gibb.
Whoa, how? Ended up with a short straw again. So we had talked about with the physical sort of communication, one way might be to actually have a message board or something, even if you don't have a bulletin or homepage, but have something out in the narthex. Could be electronic, so it could cycle through, or it could be just hard copy that people could see. We talked about adequate coaching. So when you talk about educating parents, bringing them up to speed, having people who are there as resources to be side by side with them. So it's not just an education thing and now go forth and do it, but have somebody that is alongside them. Yeah, child care was mentioned multiple times. And around volunteers, actively engaging face-to-face conversation, one-on-one where you have relationships and that kind of stuff to encourage people to come out and to participate. And when you do have activities and engagements and that kind of stuff, to continue to foster engagement, making sure that what you do well, and that people feel good about it, that when they look at how their time was spent, making sure that you have that cadence so that people keep coming back.
The only other thing was we talked about with like the younger parents with kids, it's hard for them to get, they don't go to a Bible study during the day because they're working, and they can't come at night because they're either doing homework, getting kids to bed, whatever. Have like maybe a Zoom Bible study, say at 8:30 at night, if they would be open to that.
Did you say you were in bed already? Okay.
I guess this back corner of our group over here was most passionate about probably number one, which was the training our kids area. And I think the main one I think we were interested in was making sure that we had age-appropriate resources. So we got, everything from kids that can barely walk all the way up until high schoolers. That's a lot of different groups to hit. The next one was around kind of support for those parents, not only training, but just ongoing support groups or, best practices or whatever that looks like. And then thinking a little bit about the Bible study, just, we have the children's church today, but a lot of us grew up with a traditional Sunday school where we had, classes or grades or whatnot, and you could take that as an angle on Bible study of, if we have more classrooms, volunteers are obviously the issue, but can we get a little bit more grade-specific instruction for our kids? So, did I miss anything? And we really, really want a kitchen.
And you just volunteered to cook, right?
I will cook. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not a Kevin. I can make some Kraft mac and cheese.
A lot of the same things we talked about, but one thing, what's her name? Sarah Lee mentioned that I thought it was a good idea to have like a volunteer coordinator type position that would contact people and organize or stay on top of these things so it's not so well, you come if you feel like it, and you don't know who's going to show up for sure. And I think that's something that makes a lot of sense to me. Do you have another? I think we pretty much. Small little grants. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. Small little grants, if we need them for some of these programs from the Senate, not a big $1 million grant, but smaller grants to foster some of these, like the material they were talking about for the parents, for age-appropriate material for their children at home. And I think that's about it. How you get people to volunteer has been a question forever, and I'm sure it's not going to go away.
So the themes we heard in a lot of our obstacles were we don't know why we only have the 20% of people participating. We think it might be based on the times that it doesn't work for them, or the content's not interesting for them, or whatever else. So one of our suggested solutions is a survey where we actually ask all the members of our congregation those questions. Is it you don't go to Bible studies because the time doesn't work for you, or you can't get to that location and you need something virtual? And I think that theme also works when we're talking about how people want to be communicated to. So you can ask that question in the survey itself. Is it, do you want emails or texts, and what do you want to be communicated about? But also in the way you give that survey, I think you can learn about how people want to be communicated to. So you can give that in an email or on Realm, but you can also have paper copies here that even from how people participate, you'll learn that as well. So a survey is one of our big ideas, and then the group before us also touched on this, but around communication, we think there needs to be some sort of a communication director or communication team that's in charge of that. So it's one thing to capture all that information about what people want to hear about and how they want to hear about it, but somebody has to be in charge of that and stay on top of it and plan.
Can I just say one quick thing I forgot to mention? Concern was raised, and I think it's legitimate, that somehow we might go in the way of more electronic contacts, notices, but the danger in that is that people, the question was raised to me, people are so bombarded nowadays with messages and alerts. Everything is a national disaster, you know, you got to answer it right now, that there might be a tendency that people will tune it out. So I think we have to be careful how far we go with that.
Yeah, I wrote down don't spam. And I try and be really careful so everybody knows for the email blasts that go out, I'm never going to send you something stupid. If you get something goes out, there's useful or exciting or important information in it. So, yeah, I'm never going to be like, it was a nice day today, wasn't it? That's not how those spam emails that go out to everybody, read them. I don't send them out very often for that reason. Yeah, that's a good point.
The one thing that I didn't want to forget was, Dan, was it a couple of years ago? When did you start the service team? And we put quite a bit of work into organizing the structure of it, and we have a form that I believe no one has ever used, and I believe most people don't even know about. I don't know where we're at with that, but I was thinking about all the volunteer ministries, the local ministries, tithing, that sort of thing. And again, maybe I'm making it, I don't know, more structured or business-like than it needs to, but I know there's a lot of emotion involved in projects and places and people that, you know, our members are invested in, all of them good. But maybe what we do is we have a certain time of the year where everybody comes in and you make your pitch and you talk about, hey, this is a ministry or community organization or something that I feel really passionate about. This is how I see Living Faith being involved. This is maybe where I see finances going towards or what might be expected there, or time commitment from people, how many people might be involved. And again, just basically give your pitch and then step back. And then maybe the service team or whoever, you know, a small group of people looks at that and looks at our vision statement and says, well, this year, where do we see ourselves? And does this follow our vision statement and where we want our focus to be this year? And then they pick those 2 or 3 things. And maybe in the end, then that helps our focus. It helps our money be more focused. Then you don't have somebody saying, hey, can you bring this or donate that or give me $20 for this, or, you know, all these random things that pop up just because somebody has a good idea. And again, they are good ideas and they're valuable, but that helps us put a little more intention in place.
Yeah, if there is one big winner in all things COVID, it's QR codes, because those things almost disappeared and now they're everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I hear you. All right, I wanted to circle back.
Everybody got a chance to say their good ideas?
All right, back to, if you would, the goal slide for the next 18 to 24 months. Dan touched on this a little bit too. Not only are these not set in stone and are able to be adjusted as we move forward, we don't want to be so rigid that we discover these are not great goals and good ideas, but darn it, we're going to do it anyways. It's dumb. But also they're flexible in terms of, as we're looking to equip 25 families to disciple their children, maybe you're thinking, well, you know, my kids are grown and move out of the house. This isn't for me. We're going to be marketing these things and encouraging people. Yes, the same principles for discipling your kids apply to discipling your neighbor or your friend or your grandkids or whomever it might be. So they're still for you, but we're specifically targeting those 25. And all of these are essentially going to have that sense. So this isn't going to leave anybody out either. Excuse me, I just don't want anybody thinking that we've got these very hyper-focused goals that you're going to be missing the ministry at Living Faith. And again, those other things we do aren't going away. It's just we're focusing on these. We decided in our meeting to go back to the ministry clarity process. Can you get that last slide there? Just one more time, hitting this. Why did we decide to do this again?
So they know what we did. So then we're in strategy right now. So now we're going to go through, we're going to vet and stock what you all heard that were best practices, things that you thought were great. We're going to highlight those, maybe note those, because then our team is going to reconvene and we're going to start doing those next 4 steps, start assigning tasks and implementing them and measuring them and then communicating what's going on. So just so you know where this all is, and we're in step 6 right now, which will be in step 6 for the next few years.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I will be also sending out one of those giant email blasts and communicating that this is where we are, and just kind of rewrite some of the things, the themes that we heard tonight. So you're gonna be hearing that. Also, so you know that there's teeth to this, because we're policy-based, I'm actually gonna be held accountable. So this team is doing a great job pulling the goals up, and then we'll be writing those goals with the council. So this doesn't just float out here on a team somewhere. This goes to council. Council holds me responsible, and it just kind of flows downhill. So obviously the family stuff and the people connecting, teaching, a lot of that's gonna land on Dan in children's ministry area. A lot of Bible study is gonna be split between Dan and I. So this is going to have real teeth, and I have goals that I'm reviewed on and held accountable to, as well as Dan, as well as all of our staff. And then as Joanne was saying, also all the way down to volunteers. So this isn't just, we're saying some nice things tonight, and who knows if it's going to happen. We're going to have to boil this thing down, but absolutely I'm held accountable to these, and so is Dan and everybody else on staff and volunteers. So, good stuff. Anything else?
I think we should. So you got to hear everybody, right? You got to hear the other groups. I'm very curious. Was there something that somebody said that you're like, oh wow, we should definitely do that thing, or that was a really good idea? I started a few things when I was going through, but who's got the microphone? Oh, so just raise your hand if you've got yeah, I really like that idea, and if it was yours again, I guess you could say that. But is there? Okay, for me, I'm just going to say since I have a microphone, I hadn't even thought about that mission grant stuff. I just see that stuff. I get emails and they're like, I did apply for one of those when I was at Glory Day, and they gave me $50,000 to do something, and it was not even that good of an idea. So these are a lot better ideas. So I think that's a really good idea. So yeah, that was a very helpful. I'm like, duh, why didn't I think of that? Okay, so there's one that I just saying. What's something that really stood out for you? Beth's got her hand up over there.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you got to say it in the microphone so the people at home can hear it too.
I guess I'm old-fashioned, but I'd like to have the bulletin back with all the sick people that I can pray for, and put some of my family members or friends for people to pray for.
I think one of the things that I really heard from here was we need more than one way to communicate. We need a definite electronic way to communicate, but we need a non-electronic way to communicate also. And making it easy on the office, make it 2 or 3 ways, so that there's only 2 or 3 things going out, but they don't overlap. Like one of the things we'd mentioned was that the website and Realm sometimes have conflicting information, which leads to the second point that I thought was really good, which is the communication team. We need one group of people that are managing communication so that it all syncs together and makes sense, but make it manageable so that there's 2 or 3 ways things are going out.
So the other thing that came up too when people were talking is, do things that you're good at. And there is a waiting list for the preschool right now, right? Okay. There's not a waiting list for the youth group. And we are investing quite a bit of money in the preschool. So how does this community tap into that? Because that's seems like an overflow of missed opportunity. And I don't have the answer. Again, when I leave Wednesday Bible study and I see all the, moms and dads picking up the kids, I don't know any of them from church. Maybe we hold the kids ransom. I don't know. You want to get on the list? You're coming to Bible study. Sorry. Lock the door.
So I'm connect more intentionally with our preschool in the church. Is that what you were saying?
It's an investment. It's a
yeah.
I think one of the things we have to figure out also is, do we care about increasing butts in chairs at Living Faith? Do we care about increasing our membership? Or as a preschool, for example, are we increasing the Christian fellowship of the kingdom no matter where they worship? And they're two different focuses of ministry.
Can I ask a question?
I'll do my best to answer.
So it's kind of related to that as well. When we had the last one of these that I was at, we heard a lot of data about the people in this community and what they need. And in the goals, I don't see much that's outreach to bring people in that aren't already here. There's the volunteer one, the fourth one, but I was kind of expecting this to be, what activities can we do to bring people in?
So engaging in the community, the 25 families is not necessarily 25 of our families, is a big piece of it. That's where a lot of this outreach. So actually go back to the pillars slide. It's slide number 3. So all of those goals, and the ideas that were coming up tonight, the literal things to do, will still get filtered through this. So, for instance, communication. If we're going to have a communications team, that's a great idea. The communication is not just to our people about these classes. How are they going to communicate to the community? And so leave that up there, but then also let me go back to the, so I can get all the goals. Engaging people in Bible study. So a thought. I'm always careful because I don't want to taint anybody's idea, and I don't want you to hear, Luke had a thought, so that's what we're going to do. No, but as an example, we can do things that maybe the community would be interested in. Try not to make it too edgy, just to be, sexy and exciting, but we could have a short series on gender and God and blast that out, and we might get people from other churches interested. We may get people in the community who are expecting to come here for a fight and won't get one, don't worry. But all of that, we may get people in the doors engaging on some of those things and hearing the gospel. So all of these will have a component of that baked in for the actual goals. So go back to the goals for a second. I know Sarah's getting a workout up there. So under this goal, develop new Bible study opportunities to equip 25 families to disciple. So there's the team on the council who then is going to break that up into very measurable things. All right, so one of them might be choose a curriculum, okay? And one of them might be, that might be the goal for the year for Dan, is to choose a curriculum. Okay, that's a pretty easy goal, so it's probably going to be more than that. And then develop a communication plan to get it out to our church and to your neighbors and people in this community. So they're all of those goals are going to have that outreach component to them. So tonight we've got great ideas of things to do. The measurables through the pillars will still be written. We're not going to do all of that tonight. We'd be here forever, and plus it's really the council's job at that point. So, did that answer the question well enough? Good enough? Okay, awesome.
I had a bunch of ideas for number 4 that, I would think a communications team would do better than any of my ideas as far as, like, Glory Day, they send us out. Everybody who moves to Urbandale gets a welcome package, and we go to their door, and we knock on it, and we hand it to them, say, this is our church, welcome, come, right? I don't know if that's even effective. I did it. I like talking to people, so it's great. But it is weird, totally weird. But like even I'm in Grimes, we get door hangers. Here's this big event that's going on, right? I'm not a marketing person really, but I'm sure somebody who is, that knows this stuff, budget will be a concern. How much do we want to read? But how many people that live within 1 mile of this church have no idea about us, right? Probably a high percentage of them. Anyway, but I think, and that's the one thing that bothers me a little bit about number 4 is just the within. Is that what you're alluding to, maybe a little? No? Yes, okay. So yeah. So like, how do we get the stuff within the church out? That could be, I think.
I don't know if it's great, it's working.
all
So
right.
excited. It says Bible study, and maybe it's just, I think Bible study, we're sitting down and studying a Bible and following a thing. And if I think back to the ways I got involved with a church, it was some sort of an activity. It was, I went and played volleyball with people, and so then I ended up going to church with them. Or I went through Financial Peace here, and that's what brought me in the door. And there were people in our Financial Peace that were not members of our church. So I think it's okay that it's not explicit. That was the feeling I got when I read through these, was it was all about inside.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you articulated it. Yeah, that's what we're, these again, to be flexible and broadcast understood widely is the idea.
And we came up with that number. We actually just tried to, off the top of our head, count how many people are active right now, and we came up with about 60. We included everybody in a home group because they study the Bible, all right? We included everybody that comes on Wednesdays, Fridays, Tuesdays. Conservative was 60, 70, all right? Okay, so what are we asking? In the next 2 years, we want to get 30 more people engaged according to that standard, right? Even if we just do number 1, we're probably going to bust through that. So how granular do we want to get? How do we define it? Like you said, I think we purposely let it kind of be nebulous. But I love, that was the other thing I started. I think you said that idea for the survey, to figure out where we're at, just baseline on all of these things, much less the perception of the congregation, what they want. I thought that was an excellent idea. So that's when another one I started.
Dougie's got a question.
One more comment. I think we've walked up to this a couple of times, and not really maybe said or maybe I just wasn't paying attention the right way, but for number 4, increased communications above and highlighting some special events. I think we focused a lot on the internal communications in the space. And how that isn't fantastic, and there are other ways for it. But I think this church, as bad as we are at that, we're worse at communicating outside what's going on here.
Did I laugh out loud?
I think we haven't really said, we do have a lot of cool things going on. We do have a lot of neat things that we are working on. And telling that story outside of this complex here is not done particularly well. And so instead of just focusing on the inside for number 4, we really need to look at outside.
Yeah, that was I always kind of think in that direction of the comm team, the communications team would almost incidentally be communicating to the congregation by communicating outside the congregation. So focusing on ads in Facebook, social media, all that kind of stuff. Our people follow our pages, so they get a lot of that too, but have that focused outward. Yeah. Yeah, Joanne, quick. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just jotted down. Yeah. Right. I jotted down include comm stuff in the survey. So, are you gifted in these ways to be on the team, et cetera? But yeah, a position or just hiring it out might not be a bad idea. There was it Keith over here? Yeah.
Yeah, these guys kind of sparked one thing that we did way back when we were young people. We had some groups where you could sign up and get put together with other young couples, and you could do. It was kind of, you alternate. You do a Bible study, and then you go out and do something fun, or maybe go bowling, or whatever it might be. But just some kind of a social activity that would just get people together, and they get to know each other. And over time, then we did more of the Bible studying as we got older, and we started having kids, and had a lot of interest in each other's families and things like that. It was just a good way of fellowship with younger couples.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to probably end up just taking some notes here a little bit. I think that is accomplishing everything we need to do tonight. Like I said, this is not just blowing in the wind. We are definitely going to be driving these. Watch for the email to come out and what we're sort of bubbled up to the top, stuff to be worked on. But let me close with a quick word of prayer and let you guys go right at an hour and a half. Look at that. One more. Sorry. One more.
Check. 1, 2. I just had, so one thought came to me just now was at most of the other churches we've been at, they've had committees to do various things that we've talked about here. And our governance here doesn't really do that. It kind of all goes to the staff to do that, and I guess then to create the committees. But it seems like what I've heard, there's a lot of different needs that groups of people need to do. And so it seems like we maybe need to go back to some committees to do this stuff. And the other thing was, when we were talking about finances, when we talked about Dan's $50,000 grant, there's much smaller, like through Thrivent. Every Thrivent member, I think, can get $250. It would cover food for some event, like twice a year. So, and I've done that with some groups. So if you're a Thrivent member, you might think, just maybe find out who they all are, and then it at least is a little bit of seed money. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good idea. Thrivent dollars. All right. I'm running out of note card space.
Make sure you, that was nice. These are very nice pieces of paper, and I would have never picked something this nice. But these are great. And then, did you ever get a paper clip too? So make sure you got all that clipped together, and you can just hand them to an elder or somebody on the way out, so we can have all these, so we can look at everybody's comments.
Awesome. Yep. All right, let's close with a quick word of prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for tonight and for just all of the amazing and exciting stuff that is happening here. Clearly a lot to work on, and we just give you thanks for that energy, that the problem solving, the solutions that were brought tonight. I pray, Lord, that those would come together in a way that's easy to articulate, that reaches out and that expands your kingdom. And we pray, Lord, your kingdom would come. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, thanks, everybody. Do me a favor, get your chair right kind of close back to where it was.